Alright, so now we are going to talk about data warehouse. This is a very big topic and my favorite topic. And but I'll try to keep it short. The minimum thing that you need to understand these keywords and what exactly this means and how they translate into your final solution and design. Data warehouse many times referred as a DW also, and the two common terms and the structure used are dimension and the fact. And any warehouse and BI project, this is the kind of your final target system and a structure. It's more about the structure, how you wanted to organize your data, right? So dimension is generally called the kind of, you can call it the label of your price, right? Or any quantity value that you have. You want to give the label or meaning of that value, right? Because I've taken this example. I'm saying 100 is the number, right? But what is 100? Then I say it's order number. Okay, then order number for what? For product ABC. Okay, then when I did this order, then I'll say like, okay, 10th of March, right? So if you see that, if I'm making an order for this any product, so your amount, your quantity, your price, these would be considered as the fact value. And your product, your date and time when you ordered, who is ordering that, where you're ordering that, all these things will become your dimension, right? So dimension will give you the meaning for your fact. Again, when you go on the dimension, whatever the value that you have considered in a dimension, for example the geolocation dimension. So if you see, there are certain hierarchy, and these are the natural hierarchy, but you can define your own custom hierarchy also. For the natural hierarchy is that in your geolocation dimension you have a city, then you have a state, then you have a country. They are very well defined, right? You cannot change it, right? You should not change it, right? Because that's the way we understand. Your country is United States, then South Carolina is your state, and then within the South Carolina, Columbia is your city, right? That's the way you define the hierarchy. And why it is important, because when you do the any projection and reporting, then you can roll it up and you can roll it down. So that's very important and is very powerful. For example, you want to know, okay, total my sales for United States is 1 million, and then I can drill it down to the state level, right? So across all state, the top state is South Carolina, that has the $200,000 sales. Then again, if you go down on the same hierarchy, city, then you can see like, oh, Columbia has the highest. It has the $80,000 sales, right? So that's how you understand the slicing the data is depend on your dimension hierarchy that you're defining. And you can define your own group of the products and the hierarchy, right? Like the electronics, and then you have a computer game, and then you have a video, and then you can further slice it like within the games. You have a games for the dance, you have a game for the fight, then you can see like the how much sales are coming from there. So you can define on that way. You have a time dimension also, like what was my sales for last year, what is for the next year, last year, and then what was for last 6 months, and what is for this month. And you can go down all the way to the minutes and hours, depending on that what level you wanted to see and store information, and you have a need for business. So that's your time dimension, that is very important. And your hierarchy would be your year, semester, quarter, month, week, day. And as I said, you can define your own custom hierarchy based on the product, electronics, and whatever the way you want it to define, you can define the hierarchy. So it's very important for slicing your data and see the inside of that. When you're talking about the facts, again, the whatever the value, the column value you have is the, you can define, they call it the measure. You can define your measure, you can calculate the measure, your quantities, attributes. You may have price, unit price, discount, your net price. So all those things that you can define in a fact as a measure, and that will be calculated and it will be available for your reporting work. The next important thing is that your granularity of the data. Whenever you're designing a data mart or data warehouse, or you're working on that, you need to understand your granularity of the data. and it is very, 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 very important when you do your reporting. It's very important to understand what level of the reporting you wanted to do and what level in depth you wanted to go for the that information. The lower the granular require more data size, it will generate more data size to store into the system, and the higher the grain would be more in terms of the, you can say the higher grain means summarized data and lower the grain means detailed data, right? So one size will not fit for all your requirements, so it's always important to define your grain based on your need. So if you wanted to go on a very low level transaction that is happening into system, every single order, every single product, then your granularity would be at that level. But if you are just generating an executive report to understand, and then you might be wanted to have the roll it up to the day, and just at the product and city level, you don't care about who is ordering, or at the customer level. So you need to understand from every dimension perspective what's the granular information you wanted to have it. On the same notes, the summarizing the data in the data model itself is very important. The aggregation is very, very important for high performing report, and especially the visuals and dashboard that you are building for your report, or your executive, or your whoever is the audience, doesn't matter. You need to consider granularity, you need to aggregate the right level so that your reporting will be fast and effective. The next on the same topic, we always talk about the, in a warehouse and the data mart, when you are storing your data, you you can organize the data. I mean, tables, dimension and fact, both are the tables in a relational, well structured system, right? So what, when you are organizing that, you have only two options. The one is that either you're organizing as a star schema, that's very, very popular. This is your star schema, or you can organize into your snowflake schema. The one big difference between star schema and a snowflake schema is this: star schema is always, you see, like the your fact. The fact is, this is your fact that is in a center, right? So your fact is in a center, right? And all your dimensions are surrounding by that, right? They're connecting to one fact. So that's the star schema. When you go for the snowflake schema, definitely your fact is in a center, but you see like your dimension has been extended, right? So all your dimension has been extended. So that's the snowflake schema, and both is well needed depending on your use case. Generally, I mean, in a very vague way, if you see that if you're working on the data mart, then your star schema will be more suitable. But if you're working on the warehouse, and then might be you need to end up with extending that as a snowflake schema. But it depends on that, your use case and your requirement, you can work on that. But these are the two kind of the structure you can see: star schema and a snowflake schema in the warehouse and the data mart. As we started the warehouse and data mart, just real quickly I'll touch bases on the data warehouse and the data mart. If you see that the big difference, I mean, schema can be defined either way, star schema or snowflake, but in terms of the data marts are more subjective and to the point for your business need, right? So in any enterprise, it's very hard like the one size fit for all, right? So as a result, you will end up with the specialized data set, that is data mart, that more suitable for that particular department. Like the finance has its own data mart for their own interpretation of the data, the way they wanted to see and report it. Operation team has their own data mart in their own way that they wanted to represent it. And then you have a warehouse on top of that that has the one uniform view for the executive team, or that has more details. And so in long and short, you can say like the data are more subjective, more specific to the department, or more specific to the particular problem that you are solving, that you wanted to analyze. And warehouse is more broader and more summarized and detailed for your entire enterprise. So that's the way we organize all the data. Again, the schema could be anything. It could be a star schema or snowflake within the data warehouse or data mart that you can work on. And how many dimensions in fact would be, that depend on the how you have a structure your and how complex your system is. So I think this is the last one. That's the pretty much information you need to know in terms of the data and data processing. Next, we can look for the reports and reporting, how you can report it, and what is the KPI dashboard on HEC.